For your advertising, WOCA's news talk format pinpoints information hungry, better educated, high-income adults. So use us to talk to them. Call 732-8000. 732-8000. We're Ocala News Talk Radio. News Talk 1370 WOCA.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
She blinded me. All right. 5 minutes after 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Friday morning. Jim George is in the studio. He's going to answer your questions about things related to your reception, your cable, your internet, and everything along those lines, your Wi-Fi. Jim is the owner of American Cable Services, and that is an important name to remember because that's who you would call if you have any further questions after the program is over. Good morning, Jim. How you doing?
Good morning. Fine.
Did you get wet out there?
Just a little. It's just sprinkling. No big deal.
It doesn't affect our cable.
It's only water, yeah.
The rain doesn't drip into the coax and the...
Now, what affects DirecTV and Dish are affected by rain. Because at that frequency, the frequency at which DirecTV and Dish look at the satellite, the raindrops look like basketballs.
Oh, wow.
So the more raindrops you have, that's when your picture starts to pixelate and go out.
So do you get some people who switch from the small dishes to regular cable because of the rain? Do you have a...
Exactly. Yeah. Once the rain fade starts and they have enough annoyance, they will switch over to hardline cable, or they'll just ask for a larger dish. They'll say, well, if an 18-inch dish is always breaking up, maybe a 36-inch, twice as strong.
Oh, wow. I didn't know they sold those.
Yeah, you can go as high as a 6-footer, but we really recommend you stop at a 36-inch dish.
So do you do both? Do you do cable and the dish?
No, we don't do the direct-to-home.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's a competitor in that sense.
Oh, I see.
So if you have Dish or Direct, then you wouldn't want our service because you already have the services.
I got you. Okay.
So, yeah, we do it that way.
But you still got to pay for it.
Still have to pay for it, and it's more expensive with Dish or Direct. Just had a conversation with a gentleman yesterday who came in, and he's on DirecTV, and he lives in Ocala Palms, and he says he would love to get off of DirecTV. He's up to $134 a month now.
Wow. See?
And he only watches like 7 channels. And when am I going to launch? He's just waiting and waiting. And so we gave him a tour of the building and showed him the servers and the routers and all the racks and everything, and said that it's just a question of finalizing some programming contracts and finalizing some final financial deals, and we're ready to launch. So we told him we think we're still online for July 4th.
Wow.
By July 4th, that's a date that we chose for Ocala Palms, because since it's Independence Day, we're going to say become independent from Dish and Direct.
Oh, nice.
That's wonderful.
And come on to us. And then once that's done, which would be probably middle of August, 1st of September, then we'll branch out.
Wow.
But that will allow us to get all the bugs out of the system and everything in Ocala Palms.
Yeah. So why is his 140? Is he subscribing to things he doesn't really watch?
Well, it's really a misnomer when they say things to you like, join up for $29.95. That's like for the first 3 months.
Yeah.
And then you get the basic, and then if you want anything else, that's in a tier, and you have to take the whole tier. It could be 100 channels to get the 2 you want.
See, that's what I don't like. That's why I don't do it at all.
You end up, according to Dish and Direct both, the average homeowner pays $154. That's the average DirecTV bill.
I pay nothing.
All right, but we need to get you an antenna so you can pick up the off
Although,
the air.
I say I pay nothing. I do pay for the cable that comes in from my internet.
Right.
So, but I don't know. But if I was to have TV, I'd rather have internet than TV.
Exactly.
For me.
Well, that's what we do. I mean, we are basically internet TV. So you would have our box, or you would have our app, an application.
Okay.
And then you just click on that app, and that app would say, okay, here's 200 channels. Which of these 200 do you want? And you say, I want just these 3. So you click on that 3, it add to the shopping cart. You add it to the shopping cart. It says fine. Your total bill is $7.95.
$7.95.
And you're done.
All right, so there was a story before you came in here, and I know we told you about it. It's this plan in the city of New York to take the no longer used phone booths, which apparently there's plenty of them in New York City, and turn them into hotspots so that there would essentially be free Wi-Fi the entire city, all 5 boroughs.
Right.
All right. If I lived near one of them, or I'm trying to figure how wouldn't this cause a major problem for the people who are making a living providing people with internet service in that city? Because all you'd have to do is say, well, you know what, I'm canceling my service. I got it on the phone booth outside. I can just tune into that phone booth.
If you live close enough to a phone booth, chances are if you're in a residential area, there probably aren't that many phone booths in your area. But yes, for if you go down to a store, McDonald's has a hotspot, right?
Yeah.
All right. Starbucks, Harry's, people waiting to have meal downtown. So you might have 25 hotspots down in Ocala spot right now. So if there was 2 payphones on the square, let's say, and both of those were made in the hotspots, it'd just be that more able to connect. But people off the square, let's say over on 3rd Street or one of those other streets, would not be able to reach it. It'd be too far away.
Yeah. Okay. But if they blanketed the whole city, if all of Ocala did something similar to what New York wants to do for whatever reason, wouldn't that cut out business from somebody who's making a living providing internet service, because I no longer would need it?
It would, in a sense. You could do WiMAX, which is actually goes further than a Wi-Fi, thus the name WiMAX.
Uh-huh.
But then you would be at the everybody trying to get on problems.
Okay.
Everybody. Whereas if you have your own hard line into your building, like you have here, then you're on a dedicated fiber going back to the main grid.
Okay.
So businesses would have to, or really, really want to be on their own network. And they want, and of course, hackers would love to have this Wi-Fi network because once you log on, they have software that would interrogate your cell phone if you're using your cell phone in the Wi-Fi, or would interrogate your laptop and get all your data.
Oh, wow.
So free wireless access spots are open and prone to all type of hacking.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, when I was signing up for paying my bill, I should say, yesterday, 2 days ago, and it would not allow me to do it on my little Kindle. I had to do it on a computer.
Yeah.
Okay, it told me right away, and it knows what I'm using. It's amazing.
Right.
It's amazing. So.
They put in some firewalls, things to help block that from happening, because they're trying to keep the amount of intrusion, off their system. And then there's a thing called denial of service, and what that is a person has a little box, and what this box does is it tries to enter the internet, but it tries to enter it like 5,000 times in 10 seconds. And when it does, it so overloads the access points that now it causes the server, even an Amazon server, some huge server, to deny service because it can't take it. There's too much coming in. So they call it denial of service. So there's people, and they just do it for the fun of it. They think it's just the funniest thing to shut down a network. They'll shut down the Pentagon. They'll shut down whatever it is. They think that's funny. To you and I, we want to get our hands around their neck, and So
Can't they be traced? The people, the bad guys that do that?
Sometimes you can trace them. Sometimes you cannot. You've seen the movies where they bounce. Then they use one site to connect to another site. By the time you finally find them, they're gone. And then they build their own computers. You and I, when we build a computer, the FBI knows who we are, where we're at, because we bought it from a store, and before you can log on, you have to put all your information in it, which is the craziest thing. So
oh my gosh.
What we do is we do fictitious stuff. Like even my wife and I, we won't put our real name on a computer. And then that way, if someone were to steal our computer, they don't get our personal information. We don't put our address in there and those kind of things. Yeah, people don't realize that. They don't realize what can take on.
And you have a phone call, Jim. And by the way, let me invite everybody, if you're interested in calling Jim right now, the number is 622-9622. That is the WOCA Climate Control Source Hotline. Good morning. You're on the air with Jim George.
Good morning, Mr. George. Talking about this Wi-Fi and stuff, I've heard of people where they had they had cable, but the internet capability was really bad. So they said they went out and got a device that made their own little area or a hot spot and improved their internet capabilities, and they more or less became their own internet provider, I guess. I don't know how that works, and I was just wondering if you could expand on that or tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't know. It's one person I know, that's what they do for a living, and they use their computer 8 hours a day, just like you would use whatever your office desk or whatever. Hang up and listen to your comments, and have a good weekend, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sonny.
Well, the Wi-Fi was originally created just to have hands-free. In other words, instead of being Larry being stuck to this desk, if he had a Wi-Fi here, he's mobile. Now he can walk around the building and still be connected wirelessly. That was the main reason. But then the throughput, that is the amount of data and how fast you can go from your laptop to that wireless device, was slow. And then over the period of years, the 802.11, that's the standard, went from a B to an A to an N to a C, and so they went from a 100 meg connectivity, the 200 meg connectivity, the 300 meg. If you go to Staples or Best Buy, just about everything says 300 meg on it, and that N300 wireless network. That's just the speed at which you can transmit from your wireless adapter or your wireless device to the Wi-Fi. And now with the 802.11a-c, it's 1 gig. So you can actually go 1 gig from your laptop to your Wi-Fi device. But that's just the speed at which you connect to the device inside your home. Now you're at the mercy of how much connectivity you have leaving your home. So if you had WOCA, let's say OEU, Ocala Electric Utility, and they were to give you 60 meg, then you could surf the internet at 60 meg. Let's say 300 megabits to and from the wireless device, and then 60 going out to the world. But if you had CenturyLink as your internet connectivity, you may only have 2 meg. You see, and if you had Comcast, you may have 10 meg. If you have Cox, you may have 10 meg. So the bottleneck is not the device, the wireless device. Those you can get so fast it's unbelievable. The bottleneck is how fast you surf. And then if you're on a cable system, whether it be Cox or anyone, it's how far they are removed from the grid. So in other words, just imagine, if you would, that there's a fiber surrounding all of Ocala. And then that's the bicycle wheel. And then the spoke and hubs are everybody trying to get onto that wheel. So if they get on at one junction point, they may have to go through 3 or 4 spokes before they get to the main, access point. Well, the city of Ocala is connected directly to the grid. So you don't have to go through anything to get onto the main highway. Whereas if you were with CenturyLink, you're going through their little small pop, their point of presence, which is maybe in a neighborhood, and then that pop is going to another pop, and then that pop is going to the NOC, the Network Operations Center, and that Network Operations Center is just taking you downtown to their hub, and then that's going on the grid. So you might be 2 or 3 or 4 removed from the grid. So speed is one thing, but then bandwidth is the other. So you might have a car that does 110 miles an hour, but it's a single lane. But now if you have a 6-lane highway, you see that car can actually maneuver faster.
Do more, yeah.
Wow.
So that's why OEU is such a great deal. And even Comcast and Cox are a better deal than the telephone companies. Not to cut the telephone company down. It's a technology that they've had for 100 years. It's just that it's not a good technology anymore, and they're caught. They have to rebuild their system. They have no choice.
So do you think we will eventually see the end of the big tower antennas like the one we're broadcasting off right now? Do you think that radios, even in cars, will be getting their shows, their signals, whatever, through some kind of a Wi-Fi hotspot or something like that?
Well, they do right now. Like if you went to the Lincoln Tunnel, when you go into the tunnel, does your radio turn off?
Normally, yeah.
No, it's still broadcast because they put Wi-Fi, they put adapters in the tunnel.
Oh, my radio would go off because I don't have that.
No, so whatever frequency
Yeah, I don't
you're
have
on, it now works. So if you're going in the channel from London, England, to Paris, France, your radio would still work.
Wow, I didn't know that. And we do have another phone call. Good morning. You're on the air with Jim.
Yes, good morning, Jim.
Good morning.
Hey, can you explain to me what the deal with shortwave radio is? Now, they've been doing that for years, and they go all over the world before satellites. How come they can get such a long range on a shortwave radio band?
Well, actually, I think Larry can actually answer that question even better than me. He's a radio man.
Okay.
What was the question? How does it go around the world?
Yeah, shortwave.
I wish. Okay, I'm going to take a crack at it. AM signals bounce off the atmosphere.
Yes.
FM signals go in a straight line. I believe shortwave do the same thing as AM. I believe they bounce around, and because they're shorter, they are able to kind of keep bouncing and bouncing.
They just bounce and bounce forever. So when it hits the ionosphere, which is like a natural barrier for that frequency, they have no choice but to be reflected back. And so they may go in one straight line to the ionosphere, but once they hit the ionosphere, they fracture. So they might have one beam hitting it and 10,000 beams leaving it. But now those 10,000 beams are very low in power. And that's why you hear all that squealing in the background and all the crackling, because you're hearing the atmospheric noise at the same time you're trying to delineate the short wave. But you're right, you can listen to Russia from here. But you can't watch TV from here.
Does it depend on your equipment and the strength of your equipment to go farther, or can a little set go just as far as a big set?
It's really the power that you transmit at, or the sensitivity of the receiver, the receiving it, and then of course the antenna. A ham radio operator, for instance, might put up an antenna in his yard that's very small because it's got a short wavelength. Or he may put up a real long wire because he's got a long wavelength.
Yeah. Another quick question I got. Every once in a while on FM or AM, an airplane will go overhead and you get that kind of a wavy sound for a few seconds. What's happening there?
Like Larry was saying, it's transmitting in a straight line, and that airplane is breaking up the airwaves, and when it breaks up the airwaves, it deflects that signal. And then you hear the woof, 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 woof.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the same thing like with a thunderstorm, right? With a cloud, a large cloud.
I don't think a cloud will do it. It's too impenetrable. It's too penetratable. You can penetrate a cloud pretty easy.
Yeah, FM can penetrate very easy.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Hugh. And just as a sub note, when he was talking about the size, yes, obviously power is important, but so is daylight. And the cool phenomenon, I guess you would say, is a small 5,000 watt broadcasting facility with an AM signal could at nighttime literally be heard anywhere else in the hemisphere that is currently also in nighttime.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once the signal bounces to the part of the earth that has daylight, it'll disappear.
Right.
But a small station in, I don't know, Chile, South America could literally be heard in, let's say, Toronto, Canada, if the conditions were right. It's not likely, but we've done tests like that.
Yeah.
In fact, the FCC did a test when Alex was real little. I had to bring him in the middle of the night when he was a baby. We have another phone call coming in. I thought I had a second one here, but it looks like only one. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. George. It's Sonny again. I was thinking also of the hotspot. Can you develop your own hotspot, let's say, in the middle of the Ocala forest with something similar to, say, a satellite phone? And I was just wondering if, like these people that live off the grid, and yet you hear they have everything you have living in Ocala. Well, they got the internet, they got everything else. But I'm just wondering how in the heck that works. And I'll hang up again. Again, have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonny.
Well, thank goodness that that they have power, because the power company, whether it's Sumter Electric, Ocala Electric, they're bringing electricity. You could buy a piece of land in the forest that's so remote it's unbelievable. And when you start getting your building permit, it's up to the power company to get you power. So they'll put poles in and everything to get to you. And when they do, attached to that pole would be the phone company. And the phone company will run wires out to your house, and you'll have internet and you'll have phone.
Switching the conversation back to TV, I have a question for you. And maybe I brought this up last week, I can't remember, but on Clark Howard, he had a lady call him up, and she wanted to buy the best possible TV at the lowest possible price. And his suggestion was, get last year's model. Whatever the bells and whistles are this year is making this year's model the hot item.
Right.
Last year's model may not have exactly everything that this year's model has, but it'll be a lot cheaper simply because it's last year's model. What is new? I mean, 1 year to the next. When we were kids, for example, there wasn't a whole lot new 1 year to the next. But are they really changing that much year to year that you would have a drastic difference in what you have available?
There are a few changes, but sometimes they're, excuse me, very important. One of them is when you have an older set, let's say 2 years old, it may have 3 applications on it: Netflix, something else. That you buy a new one today, and you hit the apps, you've got 200 applications come up on the screen already preloaded.
And so again, our TVs are becoming, our computers are becoming, it's all becoming one.
Right.
And you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Space Mountain. Remember, Robert, we go to Space Mountain when the kids were little.
Yeah.
And you get off of the roller coaster part of it, and now you're on this treadmill. Did you ever do this, Jim, at Disney World? And now you're seeing the future.
Yeah.
Right? And you're seeing people talking to their friends on their TVs. And, well, we're doing it now, right?
Right. And the other thing is, like, if you use your TV as a browser, we bought a brand new one. I think I told you that, and it's got a nice browser in it, but it's very slow. The newer ones have a faster browser, so the manufacturers start realizing themselves that they need to beef up this and beef up that.
Wow!
But is it worth paying an extra $500 for that?
That was Clark Howard's point. Yeah.
No, just get last year's model.
Yeah.
And remember to garden naked this weekend, and everybody.
That's right. That's right.
Kill
All
a-
you gardeners out
I'm
there.
going to kill a lot of plants this week.
Good morning. You're on there with Jim.
Yeah, good morning. I'm a little bit confused. I live in an area where we don't even have cable. Well, you have to have either a dish or direct TV. When all goes well with you, will you be able to supply us with your service out here?
If you have internet connectivity, the answer is yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Well, we'll be waiting and wish you lots of
All
luck.
right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And so, if the answer just is, do you have internet connectivity? You could literally be providing anybody in the world.
Anybody in the world.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. The biggest hurdle we have are
You're going to get a new car.
government regulations, because the programmers are fearful of it. Think what it will do with cable TV. But we use the analogy that AM was around before FM. Mm-hmm. And when FM came out, AM petitioned the FCC to stop FM. It's going to kill us. It does all these stereos and multiple channels. And the FCC still passed FM, and as you see, they both coexist. And then TV came, and the radio people protested so severely that for 4 years the FCC would not allow TV sets to be made, nor would they allow any more TV stations. But when they finally came around and made TV, look, they coexist. You still have AM, you still have FM, you still have TV. Then cable TV came. When cable TV came, that all of them protested. Who's going to sit down and listen to our radio when they can watch channels from New York?
Right.
But they still coexist. Then Death Star was launched. Direct TV. That's what Comcast calls Direct TV.
Oh, no.
Death Star. But they all coexist. Everybody is coexisting in a marketplace. IPTV will not necessarily kill cable, but cable is protesting. They are a franchise entity stuck in one place on their poles and here we are going around the world.
Yeah, it is amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. Even right now we are.
Yep.
This little program here. Joe, how do we get a hold of you? What's your number?
Number is 854-9795.
And what is your website?
www.AmeriCable. That's America with BLE on the end of it, so it spells americable.us.
All right, AmeriCable.us and the number
854-9795.
And Robin already has it on our website if you need to look it up. Jim, have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
We'll see you next week. We will take a little break. We're going to speak next to our friends from the Equine Alliance of Marion County with the Horse Show program. We'll be right back with that.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. Improvement in the jobs market. The government says 288,000 jobs were created last month, far more than expected. The jobless rate fell to 6.3%, the lowest level in 5.5 years. Ukrainian forces moving against pro-Russian supporters.
2 Ukrainian military pilots are dead after being shot down by Russian rebels in the city of Slavyansk. This after Kiev launched an active anti-terrorism campaign against rebels just north of here.
Fox Radio's Jessica Gallagher in Donetsk, Ukraine.
Rebels and citizens are now beefing up barricades in the city. Russian President Vladimir Putin's spokesman says the punitive actions by Kiev gets rid of any hopes of defusing the crisis.
In Baltimore, a block-long sinkhole opens up, leading to panic. Several cars were swallowed up in the collapse, but no injuries reported. An investigation is